You're tuned into the Writing Community Chat Show, the live streaming YouTube podcast that brings you the stories of authors, screenwriters, and more. Indie or established, this show's for the community, and we invite you to be a part of it. Head to the writingcommunitychatshow.com for more info. The WCCS. Together as one, we get it done.
Hello and welcome to the Writing Community Chat Show. Wow, are we excited to be back on the show. It's been a good couple of weeks, which is probably one of the longest times we've spent away from the show because of the Christmas break and all that good stuff. So we're very much looking forward to this. We've got a great guest lined up for you. We're going to have some great writing advice, writing tips, and a story of becoming an author and how that journey has gone. I'm sat here with Chris Hooley. I am Chris Agate. Chris, how has your Christmas been? How has your week been? How are you doing?
Yeah, it's been really good. It's nice to get that downtime in and, do nothing. I took some advice from people on the after show, and I watched Shrinking on Apple TV.
Wonderful.
This is not an advertisement, by the way. We're not being paid by Apple TV, but it was really good. It was a really good show, and just that nice sort of lull period between Christmas and New Year, and I just sat and binge watched that, which is something I've not done for a while, and yeah, it was great. It made me laugh, made me cry, all that good stuff, and yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it is a fantastic show, and it was written, and I can't remember his name. Brett Goldstein. He actually wrote a lot of Ted Lasso, and amazing story if you've ever watched that. He is one of the funny characters in that show, and he was just acting the part until they found an actor, and he was so good at it they actually said, do you know what, you just be that character. And he wrote a lot of that, and he wrote a lot of the Shrinking as well, and there's a new show out I think he's got involved in. He's a fantastic actor and obviously a writer. That would be someone amazing we could get on the show one day, who knows. But yeah, glad you've had a nice relaxed time and watched some shows. I've done pretty much the same, to be honest. I do have a whole week off next week, which I'm very excited about. If you can't tell from my excitement. It's my birthday on Monday. It's my twin boy's birthday on Tuesday, which is a whole grenade in the mix. But we're looking forward to some quality time together. But yes, to get back on the show, to connect with our Substack subscribers would be amazing. And, after show is always there. And, if you're watching this back and listening back on the podcast, thank you. And the podcast listeners, we do understand if you don't follow our socials, you might not know everything that's going on. So we're glad you're sticking with us. We've got listeners from all sorts of people over the world in a lot of different countries, which kind of surprises us. So thank you very much for tuning in. And we've got some great guests lined up for season 15 that we're in the early stages of. So we're very much looking forward to it. I'm excited, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, it always blows my mind when you say, we've got listeners from this country, and it's like Nigeria or Kenya or something.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that is amazing. We love it. Obviously, writers all over the world. Hopefully they're getting something out of listening to this show with all the great guests that we have on and the great knowledge that they have to impart on us. And yeah, I say it all the time. It's better, in my opinion, than going to a university. You're going to learn more here with us and the people who do it on a regular basis than you will paying for a university. So yeah, just spread the word if you're a writer and enjoy the process.
Yeah, it's amazing. It is amazing, and that people listen to us from all over the world. But yes, thank you so much. Annie is in the chat. Happy Friday. Anna's in the chat. Happy Friday. We hope you had a great time over Christmas and time with your families and dogs and knitting and all those good things that we know you do. Let us know in the chat how you've had a good time, or if you have had a good time. I'm assuming you have. But what we want to do is wrap this up quickly and get our guest on, because we've got a great guest on for you. And we got a lot to talk about, especially.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting into the supernatural elements. I love talking about the supernatural from different cultures and different countries. So it's going to be a really interesting show today and getting into all that good stuff.
It really is. So let me get into the introduction. So we have an incredible guest for you whose journey is as fascinating as his fiction. He's a man who's mastered social media, cracked the cryptocurrency code, and then said, you know what? Time to chase my real dream. And thank goodness he did, because the result is a spellbinding world of witches, dream dances, and supernatural intrigue. Joining us tonight is none other than Steven P. Aitchison, the author of the Witches of Scotland series. This isn't just any series, it's an epic 8-book saga that captured imaginations everywhere. And he didn't stop there. He's also got a spin-off series, the Edinburgh Files, featuring some characters taking on Scotland's spookiest supernatural challenges. So we are going to dive into his road to writing, find out more about the new book in the Witches of Scotland series, I think it's book 4, and our staple questions, and take questions from you, our audience, who are our Substack members. So please, without ado, please help me in giving a nice warm welcome to the amazing Steven Aitchison. Hello, Steven.
Hi guys, thank you very much for having me on. I've been really looking forward to this. Quite nervous actually, but I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, do not be silly. Please don't on our show. We are very relaxed and we are very, very grateful to have you on the show. So thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing brilliant and doing good. Just had the grandkids up today, which is good. So seeing them again over Christmas, it's just a joy to have children round about Christmas kind of time. So, and you know, young children, because they kind of really bring the spirit kind of Christmas.
Don't look old enough, Steven.
Say again?
You don't look old enough.
Thank you very much. We've got 2 just now, and there's a 3rd one coming in 10 days' time.
Oh wow!
So we're really looking forward to that. So it's a busy time already for us, and we're looking forward to it.
I think you're right there, because when we get older, Christmas becomes something a bit more perhaps financially stressful.
Definitely, yeah.
Work still becomes a thing. You know, we think about other things, but when you get children in your life, the excitement comes back because you feel their excitement.
And you become a big kid again as well. You just become a child again. But I do. I don't know about anybody else, but I definitely do.
Absolutely. Yeah, amazing. And for the audience, where in the world are you coming from right now?
I'm in Glasgow, the city centre. Well, just outside the city centre. It's the west end of Glasgow. So I've been staying here for 5 years now, and it was always a dream to move to kind of this area in Glasgow, and kind of the books have helped that as well, to be honest.
Yeah.
And what we've done, so it's been brilliant, and I love it. I love it here. I don't know if you've been to places, and it's got a different type of energy. It's almost, it's weird when you go to some place and you feel, oh, this is just weird. It's really nice, a nice energy, and some places like that, and that's the west end of Glasgow, definitely.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, how do you experience that in terms of it feels like a nice energy? Do you mean you feel like comfortable in that space, like a natural?
Yeah, it's like so we used to stay out in kind of Motherwell, which is kind of outside, about 10, 15 miles outside Glasgow, and there's nothing really much to do there. When you go into the city centre, it's got a different vibe altogether, but it's not got there's an eclectic vibe in the West End, because there's loads of students, but there's an older kind of generation, and there's a kind of middle kind of generation as well. And it's just all that mixed together with the independent shops and the high street and stuff like that. It's just a really nice, and the buildings as well. The buildings are stunning. It's a kind of old Victorian kind of tenement buildings, and some of them are beautiful. And we always wanted to buy one. So that's what we started doing 4 or 5 years ago. We started building up a portfolio and doing the kind of property developing as well. So we've done kind of loads of things since we've been here. But it's just a brilliant vibe about the West End. It's amazing.
Yeah, Scotland historically has amazing sort of beautiful architecture.
Oh, the architecture's stunning, yeah. Especially Edinburgh as well. Edinburgh and Glasgow. Yeah, some beautiful, beautiful places.
It's on the top of my list for trips to go to, and I haven't been there yet, but it's been since many years ago where I need to be and to go and experience, because it looks beautiful.
Yeah, no. Well, we drove down to, I'll just tell a quick story, sorry I'm jumping in. We drove down to Wales once. We saw a kind of a sideboard that we really, really wanted on Facebook Marketplace, and we couldn't get it anywhere else, but there's a guy in Wales had it. So we thought, bugger it, we'll just go and drive down to Wales, which is about 8 or 9 hours. So we drove down to Wales to get a sideboard, and I can't remember where it was, but it was almost like you're driving in through the city gates of a kind of castle.
Yeah.
You probably know where it is, CJ. So it's like you kind of drive over a little bridge, and it's like you're going into a kind of another city or something. But I thought, this is absolutely stunning. So we always wanted to go back to Wales, but we've never been back yet. So yeah, it'll be nice.
It could be Tenby, but there's a few other places that have that sort of style. And yeah, I think Britain has a lot of amazing places.
It does, it really does.
Anya says, I went to see the Macintosh building when I was in Glasgow.
Yeah, that's not far from me at all. It's
Yeah.
not far from me at all, yeah. So it's really nice there.
Amazing. So what's the writer kind of scene in that place? Do you have many connections to other writers where you are?
See, to be honest, I don't at all. I've just kind of done solo. I've always kind of done things solo. So I don't know what the writing scene's like. I don't know what the community is like. I'm sure it's big. Glasgow's got a good reputation for writers. But I'm not really involved in the writing kind of community. Online I am. It's totally different online, but not in physically. But I've not the time to do anything with kind of everything that's going on. But so I don't really know, to be honest. Sorry about that.
No, not at all. I mean, it's interesting to know. I mean, the online presence is what this whole community that we have is based around, and we understand that completely. I'm always intrigued to know if people are connected with the local community. There are some people in my local community that have started a book club, which I think is very cool because we're quite a small town. So I'm very intrigued to go there and see if people, what they like and what they know, and do they expand the network like kind of we do and stuff, So it's really interesting. I know in Edinburgh, Ian Rankin, when he was on the show, talked about the Oxford Bar, which he loves. Have you ever been there?
I've not been to it. I haven't actually been. I've seen Ian Rankin lots of times kind of being interviewed, and I've heard him speaking about it, but no, I've not actually been there at all.
Yeah, if we ever get up that way, I mean, we should definitely make a trip to the Oxford Bar, and we should all meet up. That would be fantastic.
That'd be good.
Yeah. Okay, what we're going to do is play the first little video, which is the Road to Writing video, and then we're going to learn how you got to where you are now, which is quite an interesting journey. And you've got a great book series, or 2 book series, that link around the kind of the culture of Scotland and the mythical, or say supernatural elements to it, which we're going to dig into. So the Road to Writing is coming up. So, Stephen, rewind the tape for us, in a sense. Where did writing come from in your life? What was the inspiration? And do you remember kind of when you started that process?
Yeah, I think not the writing part of it, but being inspired by a writer. I don't know if you remember, it's probably gone too far back. There was a female author called Joan Lingard, and she wrote about the Troubles in Northern Ireland. But it was a kind of YA kind of fantasy series she'd written. And it was about the 12th day of July and across the barricades she'd written. So I was reading this book, or this series of books, when I was I must have been, I can't remember, I was trying to think of it, 11 or 12 years old. So I was reading these books, and there was one line in it where the main protagonist, Kevin and Sadie, they were sitting on top of a hill overlooking Belfast and kind of thinking about the Troubles. One was Catholic, one was Protestant. And Sadie, said in the book, Sadie stole a glance at Kevin. And I just thought that line, Sadie stole a glance, just those 4 words, I just thought, oh, that'd be amazing to be able to write that like that, because it captured everything. She shouldn't be looking at him. She stole it. It was almost as if she shouldn't be doing it. And I thought, that'd be amazing to write like that. And I was always in the library kind of reading. And my dad read a lot as well, the kind of older kind of adult stuff like Harold Robbins, Sidney Sheldon, people like that. And I remember taking his books and reading them, and then writing my own synopsis, or typing up on an old typewriter, because we didn't have computers back then, on a typewriter, synopsis of books that I thought would be quite good based on the Harold Robbins books. And then I kind of got into short stories. I tried to write for magazines. Again, typewritten. There was no computers back then. So I tried that, didn't really work, and I thought, I'm not cut out to be a writer. So that started the love of appreciating writing and what words could do, and the emotions that it could come from you from reading some words. But then in 1994, 95 or something, I kind of moved to Glasgow to become a nurse. And I got involved in the internet just when it was coming out. And I started lucid dreaming. I started practicing lucid dreaming and tried astral projection and stuff like that. And I mean, really practicing physically. I bought a brilliant book by Stephen on lucid dreaming. And it was amazing. I thought, this world that we live in, we don't even know what our brain is capable of. So I started lucid dreaming, and I had loads of lucid dreams. And that's, if you don't know, or anybody else doesn't know, it's whereby you're still dreaming, but you become conscious within your dream that you're dreaming, and you start directing it after that. So the very first dream I had, I flew all over Glasgow, and I remember waking up and going, oh, that was fucking amazing. And it just stayed with me for about a week. After I was so elated for about a week after it, I thought, oh, that'd be a cool story. That'd be a brilliant story to write. There's somebody that could kind of go into other people's dreams and lucid dreams. And I wrote 60,000 words of a book, and then I read it back and I thought, this is absolute shit. I literally binned it. And I never kind of picked up kind of the typewriter again, or to put pen to paper. But the story never left me. I thought, even years later, in 2012, I thought, I'm going to do this. And then kind of other businesses I was doing took off, so I never ever got around to it. And then I started a blog in 2006. I was writing like 3-4 times a week to the blog. It's still going just now, a personal development blog. And so I got into the writing habit then, but not, it was all non-fiction, it was personal development. So I got into the writing habit. Then other things happened. I left my job. I was an alcohol and drugs counsellor in 2013. I left that to be an online entrepreneur, writing guided meditations. I'd written and kind of recorded guided meditations, about 150 of them. We sold that company in 2015 for 8 Bitcoin. I got 8 Bitcoin instead of getting money for it. They just gave me 8 Bitcoin for it. So I got into cryptocurrency then. But then my social media page on Facebook took off, and it got to 3 million followers. Then I started teaching people how to do that for 2 years. Had a course, went over to America, teaching in London, in Edinburgh, places like that. 2017, the cryptocurrency took off. And then I started getting into that, teaching that, had a course, done that as well. And then finally, in 2021, I thought, right, I need to write these books. They're not going away out of my head. I'm going to write them. So I wrote, they were called The Dream Dancers at the time. I wrote the first 2 books, and then I left it because cryptocurrency took off again. And then I thought, right, in 2022, I sold all my cryptocurrency. We got into property with the cryptocurrency profits that we made. I started doing property, and I said, I'm going to be a full-time author. And that's what I've done. 2022, I changed the title of The Dream Dancers to The Witches of Scotland, because the title tells you what the book's about. The witches, they're based in Scotland, and you know it's going to be kind of urban fantasy-ish or paranormal because it's witches. And that's it. That's where I am just now.
That's it. What a story there. There's so much to pick out of that. It's unbelievable. I just want to, there's so much to talk about. I've got to start with the lucid dreaming, because it's something, when I have a really good dream, I love it. I love waking up in the morning after a vivid dream. And I want to take some advice here. How, if you can remember or briefly talk about it, how do you, first of all, create lucid dreaming for those who maybe don't realize they dream or don't notice it?
Right. So lucid dreaming, to become aware that you're dreaming within a dream, and you first got to do kind of some stuff outside it in your normal everyday life. So 10 times a day or something, you just say, am I dreaming? You just ask yourself, am I dreaming? So you kind of look around and you just ask yourself all the time, am I dreaming here? And you look for signs that you might be dreaming. And one thing, a lot of people don't know this, but one thing in dreams, you cannot read writing in your dreams. I don't know why, but you just can't do it. It can't be done because your consciousness kind of, it just doesn't, it's not able to kind of comprehend or read stuff when you're actually dreaming. So that is one of the signs you kind of look for in your everyday life. And you carry that over into your dream as well. So just before you go to sleep, you're thinking about the lucid dreams, you're thinking about dreaming, and kind of waking up just after the dream, because we all have different sleep cycles. We all have 90-minute sleep cycles, and we have probably 3 or 4 a night. And you can wake up after every 90-minute cycle of a dream, of your kind of sleeps, and you wake up and you try and remember your dreams, and you keep a dream diary. That's one of the things to do. But if you're constantly asking yourself during the day, am I dreaming? That carries over into your dreams. And then in your dreams, when you're asking, am I dreaming? You discover you are, and you go, holy shit, I'm dreaming. And you kind of get that excited that you lose the lucidity of it. But then with practice, after a couple of weeks, you start to gain, right, I'm dreaming, what can I do? And first thing you do is you can spin. It's called dream spinning. Spin up, and you can go up into the air and start flying and do loads of other kind of cool stuff. What was it? I flew over Glasgow. That was the main one I remember.
Yeah.
Flying all over Glasgow and just feeling the elation of feeling that. So that's just kind of just the tip of the iceberg of what you can do with lucid dreaming.
It's amazing. I mean, it's like Inception. They have those little items to know if they're in the dream world or not.
Yep.
You've just compared that to reading, which is incredible. An incredible thought. Yeah,
it's amazing. I got so interested in that I took a psychology degree. After 1997, I took a psychology. I gave up the nursing because I was partying too much. So I took a psychology degree and finished that because I got so into the kind of psychology behind kind of consciousness. And that's a lot of the books are kind of to do with consciousness as well and energy.
Yeah, of course.
So how do you channel all that? Because obviously your short little life story into writing is just full of being an expert in loads of different areas. Like, how do you capture that creativity and harness it for your writing? Because obviously you've got this massive portfolio and all these plates spinning at once, and the lucid dreaming where you're essentially a director of your own experience, and you're flying over Glasgow, and I should imagine in your consciousness you're creating all that. So how do you tap into that energy when you're trying to put it on the page?
I think it's about remembering everything, because I think life is just kind of full of experiences. We've gone through lots of experiences, and some we keep, some we discard. And the kind of big kind of moments in our life that we keep, like lucid dreaming for me was a huge moment. You can keep it. You can keep it further. You keep it even more because you're writing about it, and you're kind of teaching other people. So everything I ever learn in life, I think the best way to kind of hold it forever in your mind is to teach other people how to do it. So once I become really good at something, inevitably, I'm always going to kind of try and teach it. Same with the kind of author stuff as well. I've seen the signs that that's going to happen as well, but I don't want to. I just want to keep on writing the books, but it's happening. I think already. And every 2 years, I change and do something else. I don't know why every 2 years. But there's a cryptocurrency, social media, and personal development stuff. Every 2 years, I seem to get bored and just go, right, I've mastered that. I'm going to try something else. And you carry all the kind of elements of everything that you've learned from that and put it into a book. And then it carries on kind of forever. And you're teaching other people at the same time. And you're kind of leaving a legacy. I know that sounds a bit poncy to say that, but you're kind of leaving a legacy within that writing as well because of what you're teaching.
The question that I'm going to ask now, it may sound a bit loaded and a bit, I think you just called it poncy, and I'm going to go that way. So do you think that because you've got this heightened sense of awareness of consciousness, do you think this change in pattern of every 2 years is because you're tapping into your very purpose of your soul, essentially, and that energy that you're trying to fulfill a purpose of why you are here on this journey at this moment in time, and it's leading you to all of these different paths because at a subconscious level, those are the things that you need to fulfill on this journey, so to speak?
You've nailed it. Literally nailed it. If I could put that into words, you've just kind of put it into words there. Because I think we, in consciousness, when we're talking about consciousness, some of us have kind of slow and steady increases in kind of consciousness and become consciously aware of really what's happening in the world and what's happening with themselves. Some people never, they're just happy to kind of drift along. That's cool. Mine seems to be as big leaps. My consciousness kind of elevates in big leaps for some reason. I don't know why. And it seems to be every 2 years. And that's kind of what's happened. I've seen just in my life, it's just change beyond measure. Even I was talking to my wife the other day, and I was saying, can you believe that 5 years ago we were in kind of Motherwell and we had this and we had that, and we couldn't even imagine what we've got just now. And it shows you the leaps in consciousness I've had, my wife's had, and just everything else. But so it just depends on your own journey and what you want. I think if we start asking the right questions about what we want in life, that's when I think the leaps of consciousness happen. Does that make sense? Am I rambling on?
No, it does make sense.
Does that make sense?
So how do you navigate that then? So say you've got this other sort of feeling that I need to explore this. And again, you've already got all these plates spinning. And I should imagine, like if I turn around to my partner and said, oh, well, I'll go and do this. She might say, well, hang on a minute. Life's pretty good here in what you're doing. Like, you know, you're getting on well with that. Why do you suddenly need to go and explore this new venture? So how do you sort of navigate that when it occurs in your life?
So I think what happens is they kind of merge into one. So for example, when I first started the online kind of entrepreneurship and doing more kind of guided meditations and stuff like that, that naturally led to, okay, how do you market that? Social media was the obvious one because that was up and coming. It was going to be big. So you kind of get into social media. So it merged into one. So it's like an oil painting. You kind of paint one part and then you're doing another part. It just kind of merges. And then social media led to kind of like, say, YouTube and Facebook, learning about cryptocurrency. That kind of merged because I was doing social media with cryptocurrency, learning about it. And life is about learning. Every single day we have to learn about ourselves, about the world, what's happening just now. And so all kind of merges into one. So it's not like, okay, one day I'm doing this, it's a flick of a switch, I'm saying, right, I'm going to do this instead, I'm going to stop doing that. So it's all kind of merged into one. So everything I've learned from the past is working just now with books, social media, kind of advertising as well. It's just all kind of coming, email marketing now as well. I was a big email marketer when I was doing personal development. I had a list of about 100,000 and I was entering competitions and stuff like that to win money to support other people. And I kind of wasted that. It was a wasted email marketing, but I made a lot of money. But it was a waste of how email marketing should be done. Now it's totally different. So I'm learning about that again and building a community. So it's all kind of merged. It's all linked in together when you really kind of sit down and think about it.
I've got another question, Chris, if you haven't got
I can see you're invested here, mate.
No, I am invested. So sometimes you get an interview where you're like, oh God, this is exactly what I sort of needed right now in terms of like, you know, I was literally having a conversation with Chris about some of the things that you are talking about just before the show, which is crazy because obviously it's transpired this way and I didn't know this was going to be the case. But my next question was, what kind of came first for you? Was it the interest in the supernatural, or did the lucid dreaming and the interest in the consciousness have a direct impact on then you exploring other elements of, you know, the supernatural and things like that as a result of what you'd experienced?
I've always been interested in the kind of supernatural and the unexplained, and to a degree in my books as well, conspiracy theories, because there's only 6 months of a difference between conspiracy and truth, as Elon Musk said. So all that kind of stuff as well. But there used to be a brilliant series of magazines when I was about 12, 13 called The Unexplained. And they had hardbound copies of it. You're probably not, probably both of you are too young. Show my age now. Hardbound copies of these. And I used to kind of collect these every week. And I thought, this is amazing. It's just the world that we don't know about. You don't know what you don't know. But then when you discover something that you didn't know previously and you go, Jesus, what else is out there that we don't know about? And this is where the kind of conspiracy theories come in as well, and just kind of going down the rabbit hole of that, and then the unexplained, the kind of supernatural stuff as well. So I've always had an interest in that, and I've also had an interest in how the mind works, because I don't think we've explored the mind anywhere near to the degree that we should have done by now. So I've always had interest in that, so it's kind of merged all in one again.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's so much that we could, in reality, discover about our own minds and the capabilities that we just ignorant to, I think. But one question I've got this really kind of tapping at the back of my brain here is you mentioned you sold the company before for, I think, 4 Bitcoin. At the time, was the Bitcoin even kind of like a popular thing at that time? And did you take that? Was it like a magic bean situation? Did you kind of know what Bitcoin was or how big it could be? Or was it like, okay, we'll take some Bitcoin, see what happens?
So the Bitcoin journey is kind of weird as well, because back in 2013, Bitcoin's just been about. Satoshi Nakamoto brought it in 2009. So I'd kind of got into Bitcoin in 2013 and about 3.14 Bitcoin back in 2013. And it was $250. $200 it was. So I bought 3.14 Bitcoin for $600 odd. And I thought, there's something here, there's something about it. And it's because of the social aspect and the kind of big 2 fingers to the government as well. Like, we're going to create this money. And so I bought them, and then it went up to $400. I'm going, that's it, I'm going to sell it. So I sold my 3.14 Bitcoin.
Oh no.
$400 each, and I made $1,200. Now it was the dog's bollocks. I was brilliant. I'd made double my profit. Now it's up to $100,000. But back then, and then I was interested in it from then. I just seen something, really thought this could be a movement here. I started to see the movement happening. So I sold my website, the Guided Mind website. I got part of it for Bitcoin, and it was $2,500 at the time. And I kept it, and I traded it. And I traded it all the way up from $20,000 to $500,000 worth of kind of altcoins as well, not just Bitcoin. But then it started going down, and I kept on saying, I'll come back up. And I went down, and I took £40,000 out of it just in case. So I took my money plus extra out, and it went all the way back down to $20,000. But then I traded it again from 2019 to 2021, from $20,000 to $500,000 again. I don't know why. And I thought, this time I'm taking it out. So I took it all out, and 350 grand, put it into the bank, paid a bloody huge amount of tax on it, put the rest into property, and we've been property developing since. Yeah. But yeah, I think Bitcoin, Ethereum especially as well, I still think has got a long, long way to go, definitely.
There's a lot of talk with Trump, how much he's invested in Bitcoin, that it could explode once he takes presidency. Definitely. So yeah, I think there's a lot of talk about that.
I can see going to $1 million.
I was going to say, when you tap into your individual consciousness, do you feel connected to a larger consciousness? And do you think that's influenced some of the decisions that you've made within your life to get you to this point?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I don't know if I do tap into it, but I'd like to think I'm tapping into something bigger than myself. Everything's bigger than ourselves. If we tap into something bigger than ourselves, then we realize kind of how small we are, and that kind of keeps us humble. And I think that's a really important quality to have. So when I see something like Bitcoin, you see the bigger picture, the bigger community, and what is creating a movement on with Bitcoin did create a movement, still is creating a huge movement. And I think that when I see that, then I go, yeah, there's something here. There's something definitely happening here. And that's when it's like kind of Jungian theory, you kind of tap into the collective consciousness. And I talk about that in the Akashic Records a lot in the kind of books as well. So I definitely do think we can tap into it. It's just how we do it, because we're too busy with the TikTok of the world and day-to-day life, that we can elevate our consciousness. We have to kind of slow down and just kind of purposely try and tap into it. Then I just think, this is where the books come from. Magic happens, literally. Yeah. In magic. And once you start believing in stuff like that, that's when you start seeing it. If you don't believe in it, it's like you don't know what you don't know. You're never going to see it. So I just find it fascinating, amazing. People say you're talking shit, but it's worked in my life for the last 20, 30 years.
Amazing.
And how much of that have you sort of tried to transpire into the personal development side of things? And how, obviously, you talked about investing in property and developing properties, and obviously being a full-time writer now as well. So how much of that do you still do? How has your perception changed from when you first started doing it to what type of advice you would give now?
It's changed in the way that I still think I'm growing as a person, and I still feel I'm elevating my consciousnss. And I forgot to say, the very first book I wrote was a non-fiction book, the very first real book, and it was called The Belief Principle. And it's all about the psychology of beliefs and how every single thing you do just now is based on the beliefs you've had in the past. And beliefs are really based on affirmations. You've told yourself something over and over and over again, like, I'm going to be a writer, I'm a good writer, I'm a good writer. And you will become a good writer because you start believing it, you've affirmed it. Or consequently, on the other side of it, you just say, I'm a shit writer, I'm never going to make any money, I'm never going to do any good. You're never going to make any money as a writer. You're never going to do it. So that was the very first book I wrote, and that had to come out. And I got a contract with Wiley Publishing, but I looked at that and I thought, this is a shit contract. So I turned them down and I self-published, and that was in 2021. But that was a book, because of the personal development stuff, it had to come out. I had to write that. So I wrote it, got in my system, but I really wanted to be a fiction writer. So yeah, I still think I'm changing just now. And like I say, I think you learn more when you're teaching. I think you learn more as you're teaching kind of other people as well. And when you're still investigating. And that's what I'm doing kind of through the books as well. And a lot of people are recognizing that, which is good.
Go on, Chris.
No, I was going to say, what have you noticed any commonalities between, obviously, I think you kind of answered the question I was going to ask anyway, but how conscious are you of what you're doing when you're writing fiction as opposed to when you're writing the personal development non-fiction stuff? And how is that different as a writer? And what advice could you give to somebody who was maybe doing a similar transition?
Right, for non-fiction, I think it's about kind of research. I think non-fiction's a lot of it is research. You have to get your facts right. You can't talk kind of. I'm not saying when you write fiction it's out of box, but you have to know your kind of stuff. And that's through research. You can't know everything. And I just kind of done a lot of research in the kind of personal development side of things. But with regards to fiction, I don't know. I'm a discovery writer. So I have not a clue. I sit down at the desk every single day and I haven't a clue what the next word is going to be. And it's worked for me since I outlined the first 4 books in the series. And I thought, the characters just say, right, don't go this way, go that way. And I had to change the outline every time they kind of changed after every 3 chapters. And it was pissing me off, and I was going, right, there's something better to be done here. And I'd kind of read a book by Dean Wesley Smith called Writing into the Dark. Brilliant book. And I thought, that's me, that's what I need to do. So from book 5 onwards, I just sat down, wrote, haven't a clue what I'm going to write, and it's worked. It really has worked, and I love the way it's writing. And I hope I'm tapping into something different. It's not, I don't know where the words come from. How do you get ideas? Kind of branching off other ideas and just go, this is amazing how this is working. So it works just now, and it seems to, and I'll keep on going that way, I think.
Team Panster, yay. What I was going to say is that before we move on to the next part of the show, is that obviously someone who picked up on trends, for example, the cryptocurrency trend, and saw that ahead of time, which a lot of people did and a lot of people didn't. And you also grew your Facebook to an amazing 3 million followers plus. What trends do you currently see, if any, that would help people in the writing community, for example?
Oh, that's a good question. We were talking before, just before we come on here, I think Substack's going to be a big thing. It already has been. It is a big thing, but I don't think people realise just how big it could grow as well. I think Substack, if done correctly, could be absolutely huge for marketing kind of purposes for authors, if we're talking about for authors just now. Other stuff, obviously AI. Without doubt, AI is going to be absolutely massive. It's going to change the way we live our lives in the next 2 to 3 years. Me personally, I'm really excited about it, but I can see the dangers, the nefarious side of it, and the nefarious actors in the game as well. But you get that in every walk of life. The same when the internet came out, and you're going to get nefarious actors in there as well. AI, we're not going to be taken over. They're not going to take over the world, but it is going to take a lot of jobs. It's going to do, I think it's going to do big things for us and change our world beyond what we can kind of even comprehend just now. But AI is something to jump on definitely just now as well, I think.
Yeah. I kind of laughed internally when you mentioned earlier about, when you were using typewriters and then the internet came along. I had that instant screech in my head that used to be the dial-up noise. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like,
I've done that. So that was AOL when you first logged
Yeah,
into AOL. And I made that screeching noise. And that was always a big sighting for me, because just before it, before you connected, it's like, I'm going to connect to the internet when you heard that noise. So it's quite exciting.
I think if anyone's watching this or listening that doesn't understand that, go onto the internet, onto YouTube, and search up the AOL sound and just listen to that. And every time you logged onto the internet at that stage, that would have to happen. And it was incredibly irritating, but burns into your soul forevermore.
Oh, well, it's totally. It was a Pavlovian dog type of thing. You kind of salivated just before when you heard that noise. So I'm going to go into the internet.
Yeah,
kind of weird.
And wait like 4 minutes for a page to
Exactly,
load up. Yeah, you don't know you're born, as they say. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to go on to part 2 of the show, which is what's the story. And when we come back from this little video, Steve, hopefully you can give us a bit of a blurb about your latest book. Although I know book 4 is coming out, so do you want to talk about that one?
I don't know what book 4 is about yet. I've written 12,000 words, but I don't know what I don't know.
All right, we'll leave it up to you.
Series,
when we come back, talk about the series for us. Let us know and the audience know what it's all about, and we can dig into that then.
Brilliant.
Part 2. Yeah. Anya says, I remember that sound well. I don't think you can ever forget that sound.
No.
So, Stephen, The Witches of Scotland, a series that has come off the other 8-book series involving the same sort of characters. Let us know what kind of all of this is about in the best way you can, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so The Witches of Scotland, the first series, is about kind of just a young guy, 22, 23 years old guy going to university in Glasgow. And he called David Hunter, and he discovers he's a witch from a long line of witches. He hasn't had a clue before. He was interested in lucid dreaming before, and he'd had lots of kind of lucid dreams in the past, but he didn't know anything about kind of supernatural witch. And then one night in the kind of West End, he was out in a pub, kind of getting drunk with his mates, and he was outside, and a witch kind of attacked him. Another witch from Edinburgh called Jessica Campbell, who's one of the main protagonists, she saves him and tells him all about being a witch. And the woman he's staying with, David Hunter's staying with, is his Aunt Jane, because he was left abandoned by his mum and dad with his Aunt Jane when he was 4 years old, for reasons we get through to in the kind of series. And she's also a kind of high-up witch called a dream dancer. Now, dream dancers can port over to kind of other parts of the world, or they can go on to the 7 levels of planes of existence, they're called, like kind of Buddhism kind of stuff. So they kind of travel and port to there. And David discovers through lots of different kind of teachings that he's a higher elemental kind of witch, which means he can port to the 7th level and survive on that kind of plane of existence. So this is about a journey of discovery for David and for Jessica as well. She's a witch and she's been doing lots of stuff as well, but she discovers through David all about these kind of the witchcraft and kind of the magic systems as well, and how and what they can do. And it's a journey of discovery for Aunt Jane and her partner Jonathan, and because everybody has a purpose, and she rediscovers herself kind of through David and Jessica as well, and same with Jessica's dad. So it's about an awakening of yourself. That's really what the first series is all about. And it was kind of done in short books, because they're only 40,000 words long, the books. But I've done that on purpose. And I've done it because I thought maybe Netflix might pick it up. So I thought each book could be an episode of a kind of series. So I've done that on purpose to do that. But it so happens that it works well as kind of books as well, because I think when you finish a book, even if it's 40,000 words long, you get a sense of kind of accomplishment from that. Sorry, I digress. Anyway, so that's what the kind of series is about. And then the second kind of series, The Witches of Scotland, the Edinburgh Files, is like the kind of X-Files meets Supernatural, but based in Edinburgh. So they join, David and Jessica, and Jen and Jonathan are there as well. They join this kind of Cerebris Syndicate, which is a secret organization trying to look into higher level supernatural kind of goings on. And so they've got a different case in each book. So the very first case was about AI. And this AI has kind of gone rogue. And it predicted, at first it was predicting things onto the blockchain. So it was immutable, so it wasn't lying. You couldn't lie. So it predicted things, put onto the blockchain. Like, I think one of the things, and people got angry about this, one of the things back in January when I was first writing it, I put in that predicted that Donald Trump was going to win the election in November. And when people read that, when it eventually came out, they were really angry about it. And I predicted that Keir Starmer was going to kind of go in 2026. That's not happened yet, but it will. So I think that is good to be able to predict stuff because it's set 3 years in the future. And that was the first book. Second books, they go back in time to Edinburgh, historical Edinburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And third book is about a kind of politician whose words kind of affect everybody's energy. And she really has a hold on everybody. And it turns out she's like a siren, kind of almost. So it's about them investigating that. And the fourth book, I don't know what it's about. I've written 12,000 words, but I think there's going to be a religion kind of based. So yeah, lots of different cases and lots of different books. And that's what I like about it as well. It's all supernatural kind of stuff and magic.
Yeah. And I can't believe that you wrote in the books that the Writing Community Chat Show is going to be enormous in 2025. What's amazing about that, the way you described writing it as like a mini episode series in the book, 40,000 words, for me, that's kind of 60,000 is what I go on normally. I think that's perfect for a reader like myself. So there'll be a lot of readers that will more the, I don't want to say entry-level readers, but more of the readers that, especially in today's climate where attention rates are much lower, that's going to be more accessible. But as you mentioned, you kind of digressed into becoming a pantster. So having a series that has gone on throughout, different sort of stories and lengths, does that make it easier as a pantser? Because, each case or each sort of mystery is unique to the story of that book.
I think it does, because I think as a writer, what I've discovered in writing, when I was doing the outlining, it wasn't a chore to kind of sit down, but I kind of knew what was going to happen. And I thought, right, I know what's going to happen. I just need to kind of write about it and how to make it happen and make it work and all connect together. But as a kind of discovery writer or a pantser, you kind of sit down and you're excited. Well, I'm excited to write because I haven't a clue what the next word is going to be. And then something happens, it triggers something, and you go, oh, that's a brilliant scene to write. And you type away furiously. And I find to write more because of when I'm discovery writing, because I'm excited to write about it. So I write 4 days a week, and I write about 2,000 to 3,000 words every time I kind of write. So I'm writing about 10,000 words a month, which is not much compared to other people, but it's a good amount, and I can get 3 or 4 books out a year, which is good for me. And sometimes I can get up to 5,000 words because I'm excited about the discovery process. So yeah, I think it's good from that point of view, that you don't know what's happening, and because the reader's going to be surprised as well when you're surprised. So I find it easier that way.
I think it's a huge tip that we've mentioned on the show before, that when people are struggling to come up with anything, whether it's the start of the book or maybe a little way into it, that if they've got an idea in their head to start writing at that idea, whether it's at the start or the end of the book, because once you get that initial excitement part in your mind on the page, it evolves elsewhere. So I think that's kind of how you describe that is a really good tip for people that may suffer with writer's block, for example, or maybe stepping into this for the first time. If you're excited about a scene, get into that scene and things will unfold as a result.
I definitely think that, because it's like a tree. When you've got a tree, you've got the kind of trunk, you get an idea, the initial kind of idea of it, then it grows branches, then it grows leaves, and then it kind of goes offshoots and stuff like that as well. So you get lots of ideas from one idea, but you won't get lots of ideas unless you sit down and kind of purposely try and have that idea. Even if it's anything, you just write. It doesn't matter if you're going to delete 1,000 words, but it's just trying to get to the idea that's going to spark kind of other ideas as well.
Yeah.
I've written down 2 questions. The first one is, how much of the things that go into your book are from your own experience, like personal experience, and how much of it is research?
A lot, because I've researched a lot in the past. a lot of what I put into the books is what I've learned from the past. So it's not necessarily about personal my stuff, but I guess it is in a way because it's my personal beliefs. There's a lot about kind of energy in there and how we connect with other people and how you can feel somebody's energy without knowing why you feel it or how you feel it. So stuff like that. And that's kind of what magic is. That's what the witches are talking about. And just saying, what is magic? And it's really about the energy that you're feeling from other people. Because you'll know when you walk into a room and you can feel when somebody's really down and they're kind of draining your energy. They're energy vampires, even without saying a word. And that to me is magic. That's part of kind of what the witches kind of do as well. But there's so much more to it than that in the books. But it's teaching about that and my personal beliefs on energy, kind of consciousness as well, and kind of part. No religion. There's not that much religion in it. Apart from to say that it can control religion as a kind of form of control. But yes, a lot of my personal beliefs is in the books, definitely.
And my second question is more of a technical question and again, looking for advice for writers. But when you're writing a series, how do you know how to end that book in the right way that will then allow you to go back into the characters, but also finish that story off so the reader is satisfied, but they also want a bit more for the next time around?
Yeah, I think in the first series, what happened, I kind of knew what was going to happen in the end because the antagonist in it was somebody called Alicia Collins, and she's a billionaire, and she's a media kind of mogul, a billionaire, and the media is controlling everybody's energy, and that's what she's doing. She's controlling everybody's energy, which kind of what's happening in the real world today as well, because they're giving bad news about everything, and it's sucking your energy kind of dry, not yours, but kind of everybody's in the world. With the news is one of the worst things you could ever do to drain your energy, is to kind of watch it and read it and consume it. And she's got that. She has a control because she wants to try and control the Akashic records. So if you have the end in mind of what's going to happen between the antagonist and the protagonist, kind of have the end in mind. It might change along the way, but if you kind of know what's going to happen and the kind of last almost battle scene, then you kind of reverse engineer it and just go, okay, book one is about really David discovering. He's discovering as a witch. And maybe book two is part of that as well. Then it's the awakening of his magical powers. Then it's him using the powers, and you're up to book 6. Then 7 and 8, he's got enough power to kind of take on Alicia Collins with Jessica Campbell as well. So if you kind of have the end in mind, I think a lot of kind of James Patterson, kind of Ian Rankin, people say that as well. If you kind of have the end in mind, you kind of reverse engineer it. But with separate series, when you've got the Edinburgh Files, mainly what you're thinking about is a character arc. Because I think in books, and I think a lot of kind of writers kind of dismiss this, you've still got to have a character arc. Like I think in a lot of police procedurals, there's not character arc. It's all about the case and that's it, and I'm solving the case. But if you've got a character arc in there as well, where the main character is still growing, then I think it becomes even more interesting for the readers as well. And that's what I've got with the Edinburgh Files. David has still got a lot to learn. Jessica's got a lot to learn. They learn about each other. There's a bit romance there, but not too much, because I hate that in books, but it's still there as well. So yeah, there's a lot of underlying things as well.
Amazing. Cool. What we're going to do is go on to the last part of the show, because we are pushing our time, which is always the sign of a good show and a good chat. So if you've got questions for our guests tonight, please put them in the chat, and we will get asking our staple questions, and then hopefully ask yours as well. So part 3 of the show, community questions, coming right up. So, Stephen, this is where we ask you some random questions, and I hope you enjoy them. The first one being, if you could take a character from the world of fiction, and that can be anything from TV, books, and film, and put them into one of your stories, which character are you going to take and why?
I would say there's a character called CZ in Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series, and he's like a kind of monk-like figure, very, very wise. He's got a lot of wisdom, very calm, very kind of thoughtful about kind of everything that he does. I would love to put him into the Witches of Scotland. And I kind of based another character in the Witches of Scotland. There was an underground creature in the Witches of Scotland called Terence. And he has a lot of banter with David. And he was loosely based on Sazed because I loved that character so much in Brandon Sanderson. I'd only discovered Brandon Sanderson must be 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Amazing. Just, I mean, the Mistborn, start with Mistborn, then go to Stormlight Archive. I'm going, holy shit, I wished that I'd aspired to write kind of like that. So, but Sazed would be the character I would take.
Wow. I see Brandon Sanderson's people showcasing this book everywhere on social media.
Yeah.
He's really popular. Good answer. Chris, over to you.
Yeah. So on the back of that, if you could take the ending of any fiction, what would you change about that ending and why?
This is going to be controversial. So I would take the first book in A Song of Ice and Fire, called A Game of Thrones, and not kill Ned Stark.
Okay.
I wouldn't kill him off at the end. So that's I was so gutted when they killed him off at the end of it, and I'm going, and I can understand why now, because it was a brilliant thing to do from George Martin, but I was a kind of shock to the system. I always thought, I wonder what it'd be like if they didn't kill him off. What would have happened, and how kind of morality would have kind of changed and stuff like that as well to Westeros. So yeah, I always thought that'd be a good way not to kill him and see what an alternative kind of Game of Thrones would have looked like.
Yeah, that was a big shock for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah.
Good answer. Okay, moving on from that then. There's still so many things I want to talk about. We just don't have the time for it. Even going back to your typewriter days where you've written loads of work. I've got to ask it actually. When you're going back to the days where you're writing on a typewriter, I make so many mistakes when I'm writing on a keyboard, and I have software editing help as well. How do you deal with writing on a typewriter when you're trying to write a manuscript?
A lot slower. You just go a lot slower, because when I was doing it on a typewriter, I was kind of doing a synopsis of kind of books that I thought might be quite good when I was kind of 14 or 15. But it's 1,000 words or something, if not a wee bit less than that. So you just go really, really slow. And it's very purposeful, that everything you're doing. And when I've done it to write to magazines and stuff like that, so it was Bella magazine, all the kind of short stories I've in there, I was extremely slow to do it. And I made some mistakes. I thought, oh, shit, you get Tipp-Ex, obviously, but I was very slow.
But if you got Tipp-Ex, do you still manage to do you realign it and then try and type that letter in, or is it just...
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, you still do that, yeah. But you used to get ribbons of kind of Tipp-Ex as well. You can get ribbons of Tipp-Ex, so you kind of type it in and it kind of puts Tipp-Ex on very thinly, so you can still type over it.
Amazing. Wow, that's incredible. Chris, you're going to ask something there?
Yeah, obviously you mentioned the creature as well. That sort of mythical creature that people can go to and it's really wise. Have you ever had an experience whilst studying your own consciousness where you've experienced an encounter with something that has given you some sense of maybe advice or wisdom? And if so, what was that like? That's just a stab in the dark.
Oh. I'd really have to think about that, Chris.
It's a tough one.
There has been people along the way, definitely. Books. I find a lot of wisdom kind of in books, and you kind of you kind of take things from books, and it kind of changes the way you think. And quotes as well. I find quotes extremely a brilliant way to kind of change just even a little bit of your consciousness, but not something specific like that. That's a really kind of good question. I'm probably going to think it. That's going to bug me now.
It's a slightly loaded question. Now, we normally ask a morbid question, which is, you're looking back on your writing career, what would success look like to you? But I'm going to change it slightly to, if you were looking back in your past life, who were you then? And who would you like to be in your next experience?
Oh, my past, as in past life regression and stuff like that? Or my own life?
Well, yeah, past life regression. Like who what was your soul's experience in a past life, and what do you
Right.
want your soul's experience to be in a future? Again, I'm stabbing in the dark, but I was getting a vibe that maybe you dabbled in that, or at least had
Yeah.
some knowledge of it.
So in the past life, I was definitely a creative. I was 100% a creative. If I have a past life, but I kind of look at all that kind of stuff as well. But I was definitely some kind of creative, and it would have been kind of painter or something. I tried painting as well, and I kind of sold some artwork as well. So I've tried lots of different creative stuff as well. So I definitely think that, and me in this life is just me finding my way back to what I used to do, and this life is just the starting point of the next life, wherever I'm going to end up. I'm going to probably be something creative as well. I think it's always been there. It's just trying to find it again. And this is me finding it after, God knows, 30, well, 40, 50, I'm 56.
No.
So it's me finding it after all these years again. So definitely, yeah.
Don't believe it.
Again, another question's just transpired that I have to ask, unfortunately. I'm sorry. But do you think, obviously you've mentioned AI in your books and being a plotline in your book, do you think AI is going to help us elevate our consciousness as a collective? And do you think there's sort of any validity in AI potentially being a projection of our energy when we're using it, so that it's taking some of that element in and then able to reflect that back to us?
Yeah, I think so. Well, if you think about it, if you kind of read a book and you've read a brilliant book like kind of Brandon Sanderson books, and how much that kind of changes your energy and the way you feel, and you're almost inspired kind of by it as well. I think AI has that potential. I really do think, because it's words at the end of the day, and energy. You can get energy from anywhere. You can get energy from looking at a painting. You can get energy from looking at words. You can get energy from watching a video. So AI has definitely got the capability to kind of change the way we feel about ourselves. So from that point of view, it's a brilliant thing, or it could be a brilliant thing. As I said, there's going to be nefarious actors out there, and that's you're going to get that every walk of life. But looking at it from that point of view, 100%, it could change the way we think about ourselves. You could almost use AI to be you can use it just now if you use it properly, to be your personal development coach. You could use it to coach. So you could say to AI, ask me some questions about myself, and I'll answer them. And then from those questions, develop a plan where I could get better at business, or I could get better in marketing, or I could get better in my kind of productive life and stuff like that. So you can do that just now. It's just we don't think about it from that point of view. So yes, it's definitely going to change our consciousness, our collective consciousness as well. And it's going to add to it. I think it's going to benefit it, not kind of drag us down. But again, there's two sides to every kind of story, but I see the good side to it.
Definitely. Yeah, I like that. We got a question from Anya. We are over our time. I do apologize, but
No, that's right. Sorry, I've been rambling on.
No. Anya says, do you think that Champ, a Lake Champlain Nessie-like creature, is a relative of the Loch Ness monster?
I have never heard of Champ.
I've never heard of Champ. I'm gonna have to Google this very quickly.
Lake Champlain Nessie-like creature. Is that in America, Lake Champlain?
I would imagine so. Anya is from America.
Is she from America?
Yeah. American folklore, Champ or Champy is the name of a lake monster said to live in Lake Champlain, a 125 mile or 201 kilometer long body of fresh water shared by New York and Vermont. So yeah. Interesting.
There's a great writer in Scotland, actually. He writes about kind of the monsters in Loch Ness and stuff, called Tormod Coburn. He'd be a good guest to have on the show. And he writes about all that kind of stuff. I would imagine he would know more.
Is it something you believe in, Loch Ness monster?
No, I think it's a good kind of marketing, kind of tourist kind of thing. But no, I don't, if I'm being really honest. I believe in a lot of things, kind of weird things, but not the Loch Ness, unfortunately.
Can you imagine, though, just like one day, it literally just surfaced? I just can't see it being there with the technology we have. We would have found it. But like,
well, imagine if that did happen, how everybody's consciousness would change. Even talking about consciousness, how your consciousness would change. You go, oh shit, if Loch Ness is real, what else is real as well? So that would kind of elevate everybody's consciousness again.
Well, one thing that blows my mind is the fact that we know so little about our oceans, and that as an author could be a whole abyss, literally, pun intended, wealth of writing, sort of what's the word, motivation, because you could just create anything you like and base it in the bottom of our oceans, because no one knows what's there. So,
well, that's one of my favorite films. Is called The Abyss. Have you seen The Abyss? I love that film, and just kind of the thought of kind of that being at the bottom of the ocean, because it's so deep, nobody can go that far down. But you might have aliens kind of that far down who've just kind of lived there, or Atlantis or something like that. So it'd be cool to write. I've just had an idea that could be cool to write.
There you go. What I'd like to say is that, do you have, to wrap this up, one tip for anyone that's watching that is an author that you would like to share from your experiences or from what you've learned that could help them?
Yes, 100%. I think for any author, every single author out there, you need to get good at marketing, but not brilliant at marketing. And I'm talking about doing one video. One video. I keep saying this to other authors. Do one video, and it's got the format: hook, story, close. So you hook them in. So I've kind of created a video called, and I've kind of titled it, "It took me 27 years to write this book." That's a hook, because people are going to go, "Oh, how did it take 27 years to write a book?" Then the story is, I didn't have the confidence to write it. I thought I was a shit writer. And then now I've written 8 books in this series because I had the confidence, and I've done that within the space of 18 months. So that's a story about your confidence and you growing as a person. Now you've written these books. And the close is, buy my books on Amazon. If you do that and perfect it for 2 minutes, just a 2-minute video, that's all you need to do, because readers want to connect with authors. They want to connect with your writing. They've connected with you through the book. Now they want to connect with your energy through the camera as well. If you do one video, literally one video has made me over £100,000, that one video. And it's probably going to make more because I'm doing it in French and German and everywhere else. And I recorded that a year and a half ago because I was going to record 10 or try them with that format. But the first video just kind of hit out of the park. So if that's all you did for your marketing and just advertise to that video, I think you could change your sales beyond measure.
Wow. I think that is absolutely fantastic advice. And what I want to do is give everybody some homework, including you, Chris, and myself, and maybe Steve yourself, create another one. But everyone watching and listening back to this, at whatever stage you are, maybe it's even 6 months down the line you pick this up. I would love you to do that, to try it, and tag Steve as well and the Writing Community Chat Show on social media so we can see it and we'll share it and help you out. But we want to see your efforts of that advice because I think it's really good.
I shared that with a guy, CJ. I shared that with a guy in another writing group, and he said, "Right, I've made the video," and his headline was, "I didn't want to be a writer until I discovered this dead body." I'm going, "Oh shit, that's brilliant!" Wow. And then he told the story of how he discovered a real dead body, and it made him want to be a writer. And I thought, that's brilliant.
Wow, that is fantastic, amazing.
So, Stephen, before we go, tell everyone all the good stuff in terms of where they can find you and where they can buy your books and things like
that. I'm on Amazon exclusive. I'm on Audible as well. Just type in The Witches of Scotland. It'll should come up top of the search. And follow me as an Amazon author, because Amazon kind of do your marketing for you when the more people follow you. So it's really good from that point of view. I'll just go to Amazon. Just go there and you'll find me there. And then you can type in my name into search engines, Steven Aitchison author. And you find my kind of Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that as well. But Amazon would be the best place to kind of go to, I would say.
Absolutely. Well, of course, share this out in the coming days with the links for Steve as well. So please do check him out. Pick up the series if you can and support him. But please do the homework because I'm excited about this.
That'll be excellent.
Stephen, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story. It's been wonderful. There's so much we could have tapped into there. But we loved your journey and the kind of lessons that you talked about and the lucid dreaming. I'm going to have to tap into that and maybe talk to you some more at some stage because it's controlling that would be incredible. But thank you for your story. For me, it's been amazing. So thank you, Chris. Over to you.
Honestly, thank you for your time, Chris and CJ. It's been a pleasure. I've been looking forward to this. I was nervous at the beginning, but yeah, you've made me feel really at ease. So thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
I would just say thank you for your energy, Stephen. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, and loved every minute, and it's flown by.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks, Chris.
Brilliant. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next week. Look after yourselves and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye now.